So, promoting literacy for teens on mobile devices, that's what our topic is today. And I think teenagers, it's really difficult to motivate them sometimes to read. And I think it's very important that we get students really excited about reading again. And there's so many things that we can do as teachers to really help them strive to read and enjoy reading. And I like this quote by John Locke because it really promotes how important the teacher is, making that connection to having students enjoy reading, especially teenagers, because it doesn't matter that they read a book. We can force them to read things. The curriculum makes them read things. But at the end of the day, we have to make them think about what they read. We have to get them interested, and that's getting them excited about the book. And for teenagers, that's very difficult. So how do we do this? Well, mobile devices are really great. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the stages of development. This is a chart from Erikson, and he is a famous theorist, and he was also a psychologist. And so he talks a little about teenagers here, and he says in stage 9, when they are 13 and 19, then they have an identity versus a role confusion. And what he talks about is that when teenagers, to start understanding them, you have to know what their developmental issues are right now. The average teenager has about 15 minutes of attention span. So mobile devices make it really great because you can have short 15-minute lessons and keep them on their toes moving. And the more they move, the better for them. They actually, it gets their brain pumping and it gets them really creative. So it's very important to understand what's going on with teenagers. It's not that they're bored, it's just that they need more sleep at the time and they have a short attention span. So it's very difficult for them to sit still and for long hours read or something. So I think it's really good to chunk. Now, why would I say a mobile device is good for literacy? Well, teenagers love their mobile devices. You see teenagers all the time texting or on Facebook. So it's good to get them interested with the tools that they already use and they learn with every day. If you give a teenager a cell phone, or even you, how many of you have a cell phone? How many of you use your cell phone every single day? Is there anyone who does not use their cell phone every single day? The same thing with a teenager. You don't have to have a smartphone, just a regular cell phone. It doesn't have to be smart. Yeah, see, and teenagers, you can't get them unglued from their cell phones. It's just something that is a part of their daily life. So I think that's really a fantastic tool to start tapping into literacy and getting them to read because they're going to be on it anyway. It has various apps. You can use tools. You don't have to have a smartphone, but you can use the tools that are on a regular cell phone, like the recording, taking pictures and video. That's on a regular cell phone as well. It's not only on a smartphone. It has a lot of storage. These devices have more storage than the first computers we ever used when we were growing up. It's very engaging. It's very good for language learners because it is multimedia. They can see a video and they can understand the language through video, through listening, seeing, all of their senses, and it really helps them to picture and visualize the vocabulary. It travels with them and it chunks languages. When you think about text messaging, and a lot of parents, when I was using these text messaging and things like that in Greece and I taught in Germany, the parents would say something like, well, you know, texting makes my child stupid. But actually, there are studies that show that it's very smart and it promotes literacy if students are texting. And David Crystal does this incredible video on texting and language learners. And, you know, he's such an authoritative figure, David Crystal, and he explains it so well. So I'll try to post that later on in the chat box. And there are some great apps. If you do have a smart device, there are fantastic apps to get your high school students and even your college students and even your adult students to begin to promote literacy, like learning vocabulary in a fun way. How many of you have seen this app or played Words with Friends? I think Words with Friends is fantastic. it's similar to Scrabble. And so what you can do is you can have each student set up an account. They don't have to have their real names, but post all the names on your wiki or something, somewhere where they have it, and it could be private, their username. They don't have to have their first name. I'm called Wordsmith Shell on my Words and Friends. But the great thing about it is they're basically playing on their mobile device. They play against each other. That's why they need to know each other's usernames. So you can have them play against each other, and you can track each score, the high score, every week. So it gets them motivated and challenged to compete with each other and learn new words at the same time. It also has a chat box feature. So you could actually talk with one another, and they can learn a lot and have conversations with each other while they play. Another really good free app that I love a lot is Scramble. Now, there's some other ones too. There's Hangman and things like that, but these are my two favorite. And the same thing, it has a chat box. You have round 1, 2, and 3. They play against each other. It's through tokens, and it's free. They do have free versions. It does come with some some ads, and so you have to be aware of the ads, and you have to tell them beware of the ads. But they're used to these kind of pop-up ads that come about. So some of the ads you can't control that, and some teachers, they don't want to promote something, but the kids access it anyway. So I think they're still very good vocabulary building apps. So I'm going to give you a few lesson ideas right now. The first one is guess the character. So each student, and they can do this with a regular cell phone, they don't have to have a smartphone, they record clues about a character. So if you're reading a book, or a story, they record clues about the character. And they can do it in first person. They can say, and they're playing a character, but they're just saying clues. My favorite color is red. I often like to wear top hats. I fall in love, or something like that. So there's different things that they can say, and these are statements that they make. They're basically descriptive statements about a character. So then they switch their device with somebody else, and then when they listen to the descriptions, the other student is listening to the descriptions in the English, and they try to guess the character. They say, oh, are you Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice? And for the purposes of today, I'll be referencing Pride and Prejudice a lot. Are you Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice? And so it's a great way to get them involved with the characters and learn more about the characters. You can also have them capture pictures to add as clues. So maybe you have a top hat, and then you can say, I love wearing top hats. In the 1800s, I was something, and then you can have a picture, and it helps build vocabulary as well. Have them listen to or create podcasts. A lot of my students really struggled when I was teaching them English in Texas. So I've taught English in various states, actually, in countries as well. And so when I was teaching my language learners, they had a really hard time with Shakespeare, but I had to teach them Shakespeare. So one of the things I did was they had Shakespeare, modern Shakespeare, and they had a podcast about it. So they would download the podcast on their MP3 players because it's free. They didn't even have to have an iPod or anything like that. They could do it on their mobile device, just a regular cell phone, or an MP3 player that cost about $2 now. $2 or $3. And so they would listen to it, and it would help them when they're listening to the chunks of it understand Shakespeare a bit more. So this is a podcast. So you can find podcasts probably about any book or story you're teaching. So you can see it and assess whether or not these podcasts, you don't have to have an online connection. After you download it, it's offline. So when they're traveling on the school bus, they can listen to it. They can listen to it at their home. Okay, so another idea is character text. Now for this one, you would have to have permission to text message, so a lot of you may not be able to do this, but that's okay. So students get in pairs, and they choose characters from the book, okay? They text, and they have to have characters that would interact with each other. So Elizabeth Benning and Darcy, Mr. Darcy. Let's say they're in pairs, and one of them is Elizabeth Benning, one is Mr. Darcy, one is Romeo, one is Juliet, okay? And they text each other. They take a conversation that they read from the book, and they switch it into text. They translate it into text. They're having the conversation, a modern conversation, what they do today. Teenagers love this. They love that they get to do this. And at the same time, they really have to evaluate the language, the old English and the old archaic language that was used. And when they're translating it, they're putting in their own words, and it gives them that literacy and that meaning. They can take screenshots of the actual conversation. Now, there are two ways to take screenshots that they can show you really quick. If you have an Android, most Androids, you just put the home button down here, and then you click the top at the same time, and it'll take a picture of whatever's the screen. So that way you have that, and they can also, oh, it's also great for practicing present tense and language and grammar and things like that. For the iPhone, it's the same, or iPod, you click the button on the bottom and this on top, and it takes a screenshot of whatever's on screen so you can get the message. You can see their conversations because they have to turn in the conversation so they can go back and they can edit what they may have missed grammar-wise. A pop quiz, okay. So all of your students, if you can text, one of the things you can do is that you can tell them, I'm going to let you cheat. Because many of our students cheat anyway, the way they're texting. But this time you control it. You say, sometime in between the test, I am going to give you 30 seconds where you can text to each other a question and somebody else can answer it for you. So you give them about a minute, you get to ring a bell or something, and you say, okay, you can ask anybody a question from the test, and they have to text it to the other person, and then the other person gives them an answer. You can also do this with something like where they don't have to do that. Maybe they can access on their mobile device, Linowit or something like that, and then that'll help them as well. And this way you kind of, they get to understand the answers and learn about them, and they won't cheat during the test. Find it. So what do they do? Pre-reading, this is a pre-reading activity. Students have a Google moment. They search for music, clothing, etc. Anything that's in that particular chapter. So we read about things. Okay, Mr. Darcy was sharing a rosette with Elizabeth Benning. So they would search for that. They would search what a rosette is. They just basically look up all of these searching. This is a pre-reading. You can have this ahead of time, list the items, and have them search ahead of time. While reading, they mark in the book what they found and how it gives them a better understanding. So a lot of times you can find books online, and this is how they can mark it. Or they can go on their mobile device and they can access it on iBooks, and it has a bookmark feature where they can type in notes. They can do this with the Kindle and things like that as well. So post-reading. The students post which items they can relate to in their lives. So afterwards, the rosette, they can say something about, oh, my parents drink wine every night before dinner and things like that. That's a good question. So Laura asked, how do you manage these activities when some students in class do not have a device? I have them share. We actually had this activity with in Greece. I was teaching refugees, and so some of them, a few of them didn't have a cell phone, and they would share. And so they would do the activities just by sharing. And that's even better because when they're in pairs, then they talk to each other. So some good ideas. Give them some alone time to read alone for pleasure. So even though it's very difficult for us to read text, a book or anything online, you can use iTunes, you can use Kindle app. Kindle app is on all devices, BlackBerry, and it's on Android as well. But they can read online. My niece often reads on her iPod or Android or whatever she's using at the time. So you can have them read alone for pleasure. Say, okay, you have 5-10 minutes to read for pleasure. And they can choose what they want to read. I think it's very good to have choice. You can give them, they can give you a list of options of what they want to read. And then you can say, okay, out of this list, I approve this particular book. So you can give them a criterion. I think it's really important to give them choice because then they're going to be interested in it. So each day, give them 5-10 minutes to read, and then afterwards, give them 5 or 10 minutes to journal. And they would journal on a Google Doc. They do it on their mobile device. Of course, they don't need a mobile device. They can do this always on the computer. It's good that they do it online, though. They can do this on, okay, Debbie says on Penzu. Later on, I'm going to show you Preposterous. This is one of my favorite tools, and this is a class project. So teenagers love Facebook, right? Well, My good friend Russell Tarr, who's fantastic, he invented fake book. So it looks just like your Google account, I mean your Facebook account, except it's an app where you create fake ones, fake profiles. And what it's there for is absolutely to create literary characters. And if you actually go to that link, you'll be able to see some that were already created. And so throughout the time when they're all reading the same novel, so let's say they're all reading the same book, you have them, this is their project for the book, is they get to be a character. They choose characters. Or you can assign them a particular character. You're Elizabeth Benning, you're Mr. Darcy. And what they do is they talk with each other, all the characters, and they create Facebook profiles of that character. They would be Mr. Darcy's picture. It could be a picture they draw, an avatar they make or something. It could be them dressed up, and then they take a picture and put it up. After they finish the book, yes, they can actually comment on each other's page. So each of them have their own page, and then you set it up as a group, and they're interacting with each other. They can post things like, what would Mr. Darcy today post as a YouTube video? Ooh, I really like Coldplay. Maybe the student thinks that Mr. Darcy would like Coldplay for some reason. Maybe they think Elizabeth really likes Katy Perry. Who knows? But they're thinking about their character, and they're posting as their character. They post status updates, and as they continue reading and learning more about the character, maybe they would comment on each other's pages, as Mr. Darcy might say, ooh, Elizabeth, you're looking beautiful today, or something. So they get to interact that way through Facebook, and they really enjoy this type of activity. They can create character timelines. Capsules is a free app for your devices. It makes interactive visual timelines. You can put up videos, and so they could have one of Elizabeth while throughout the book, what is happening, and they could put pictures and videos, and they can pretend to be her. They can even upload PDFs. You can have them dwell deeper on a book or a novel, and one way you can do that is with the free VoiceThread app, and VoiceThread is online as well, so is Capsule, so they can do this actually on the web as well. They don't have to have a mobile device to have these apps, but they are free apps, and they're really fantastic. So you just put the theme in the middle. You can put a picture, you can put a video. A lot of times, for example, in Pride and Prejudice, they have movie clips up of the movie they actually made. So you can put a clip up, and then the students, they can leave their comments. Now, they can be an avatar. They don't have to. They leave a video comment, or they can leave an audio comment. They can doodle and circle what they're talking about. And this is a way to have them discuss themes. Ask them hard questions. Do you believe that and Mr. Darcy hurt Elizabeth's feelings here? Or do you think that women were treated well back then? Would you want to be? And then they can write their comments and make a statement. So these are things where they can delve deeper inside the, that they can delve deeper, and they can really explore the themes. And it's fun because it's VoiceThread. Students create podcasts. Well, they can do this with audioboo.fm, and they can upload it. Some different types of podcasts. They could do news during the time period, like the 1800s. Today, they could do weather during the 1800s, different stories, so they can get involved with the book. Or they can make a commentary on events. This week, while we read Chapter 12 of Pride and Prejudice, we saw that Elizabeth winked at Mr. Darcy. So they can make comments on events. They can do like a gossip column, and a lot of the students these days, teenagers, are uploading their own YouTube videos where they're making comments on characters they see on TV. So you can get them doing the same kind of commentary, like a gossip column, and doing this, they can do it through Audioboo and a podcast. They could do highlights of the chapters. This week we read, and then you can break them up in pairs, and each student each week is responsible for the podcast of that particular week. So you break it up there, and then they all listen to the podcast. Pocket WavePad, fantastic app. It's basically like having Audacity on your iPad, and it's absolutely free. There's a Glogster app. Glogster is fantastic. Now they're doing one currently. This is in beta with Android, and it's going to be better because with Android you can actually create Glogsters. But for the Flash, you get the free Glogster. So they would have to create the Glogster online, basically. But they can view it, they can zoom, and things that they can do while they're reading. They can post their favorite quotes from the book. So they're actually making a Glogster of and they're adding to it while they're reading the different chapters. So they make a Glogster for each chapter, and they put quotes, images that they like, videos of their favorite moments in the chapter or in the book. And then for post reading, they can post in afterwards. They can continue and add to it their own reflections. I really think Mr. Darcy is really mean to Elizabeth here, or something like that. Or they can do poetry. They can write poetry. They can write rap. They can put music videos. Okay, so some Linowit is this sticky app. You can use it online as well. Okay, so Lauren, they can actually do quite a lot. They can make interactive posters. They can do sticky notes. All of this they can do on a mobile device, everything I'm showing you. So here's some ideas. Sorry, this came out a little bit. But here, they can do chapter, what was I going to do? Reflection. So you post basically on the Linowit app a video. Oh, okay, so on the Glogster iOS apps like iPad and iPod, you can't create the Glogster. So you have to actually, you can watch it and view it with the app, but you actually have to create the Glogster on a laptop. So reflections, you post a video in the Linowit, and then you ask questions about it, and students, they tap on their mobile device, and they just type in the answers of what they thought. You can have a debate going. Do you believe that women, and you can show a little clip, or you can put a picture and things like that. Yes, it is in beta, but Helena, Glogster EDU, but it does work on Android because Android does work with HTML5. The teacher posts this image or videos and asks reflective questions in the chapter. Or you can have each student make you can have students in the particular chapter. You list the chapter 12, okay? And then what you do is you ask students to post music videos or music samples from some Pandora or something, or Last.fm, and they post music they believe would be great for a scene, and they describe what scene they're talking about. When Elizabeth winks at Mr. Darcy, I think in the background they would play, I don't know, Jupiter by Train. And they describe the scene. They put the page number and everything like that. And then the other students respond with their choices or questions. No, I think they would play actually this song instead. So they're actually creating different music to go with the different scenes so they can picture it. They can actually create a collaborative music playlist. So for example, I like to do this with Shazam. Shazam is one of my favorite apps. If you don't know what Shazam is basically you can hear any music, and once you tap the Shazam, it listens, and then it tells you what the music is. It says, oh, this was Coldplay. You can hear it online, which I think is fantastic. So the reason I say Shazam is because when they hear something, then they can say, oh, I really like that song. You get them thinking all the time, and they say, oh, I really like this song for this scene in the book. So they're making a playlist throughout every chapter. They can each do this on the free Spotify app. If they all download Spotify, and a lot of them already have it because they make playlists online, you can make a collaborative playlist, a class playlist for each chapter. Chapter 1, Chapter 2 playlist, Chapter 3. And each student can come on and they can add the music. If you do this with YouTube, because the thing is that Spotify, if you look at the bottom here, it plays it. It automatically opens up in the free Spotify app. That's why I think Shazam is so fantastic. They hear a song, they click play in Spotify, and they can add it to the collaborative playlist, which I think is genius. They can also add a YouTube video. So this is what I like about YouTube. You can do this on YouTube on your mobile device, any mobile device. So basically, it recognized the song as the Smiths. This is what Shazam did. Now I'm going to open up YouTube. On YouTube, I'm going to add it to a playlist. The Jane Eyre Chapter 12. Here you see Chapter 12, Pride and Prejudice. This is the name of my music playlist. The students can, yes, that is spelled Shazam, S-H-A-Z-A-M. Thanks, Laura. And then, so you add it to the Chapter 12 list, and then you can make a note. You can see the note that I wrote here. I imagine this would be playing as Mr. Darcy is wooing. And so you can actually add notes that will show up on the playlist. So that's why I like it with YouTube as well, because the students can actually write about it. So we're going to go a little bit faster because we're running out of time. Animoto. Animoto is a free app, and they just made it for Android, so I'm so excited. It's on iDevices and Android. Have them create book trailers. So sort of like you see a movie preview, have them create a short preview for the whatever the chapter is or the scene is, whatever the chapter is or whatever the book is. And the great thing about it is Animoto lets you choose Creative Commons music, so they could be a music video, can have the music and stuff in the background, and it's completely legal, and they can add it to YouTube later. And then they can comment on each other's movie. They really like to see each other's book trailers. You can only do about 2 or 3 minutes if you have a free, you have to have a free Educator Animoto account, so you do have to register for that. Or they don't have to do the book preview. Another idea is they can turn a chapter into a movie scene. So they actually put the scene, you put all these scenes together, you come up with one big movie. So each student can be responsible for a chapter, and then you have this movie that comes together with different clips of them. Of course, the characters are going to look all different because, well, you can take pictures of one of the characters to make all the characters look good. Other free apps, Splice. Splice is a video app. It's really fantastic. You can add transitions. You can add, it's like Windows Movie Maker on your iDevices. It's fantastic. I love it. And this is what you can type text. You can put the end, captions. You can add music. It doesn't have a free music library like Animoto does, so I really enjoy Animoto. You can upload all of these projects to Posterous. Posterous will let you upload video and things like that. Posterous is a blog. It's the easiest way to blog. I do this with all of my students. You can see examples where I do this, where they post videos, and then they can comment on each other. So that's one of the things that I really love about Posterous is they can comment on each other and they can learn from each other. So this is what one of them looks like that I did with many teachers recently with videos. So upload to Posterous. And then they can write questions to go with their movie scenes and things like that. So they can upload anything to Posterous. And that's also where they can reflect on a blog. Like when they're journaling, you can use Posterous for that as well. You can have interactive chapter assessments on webdoc.com. WebDoc is fantastic. It shows on all mobile devices. But what it allows you to do is it has all these apps. And students love these apps. So what they're going to do is that they're going to create a chapter assessment, because they can do a poll. So they can actually show pictures or a video or anything like that, and they ask each other poll questions or quiz questions. They can have it as an interactive quiz where they say, okay, in this scene, what do you believe that Mr. Darcy is going to do in the next scene? Does Mr. Darcy propose to Elizabeth Benning or something like that? And then the other students can answer. They can take each other's interactive quizzes. Hot or not, they have little apps that students love. So they could put something like, for example, Mr. Darcy, and they could say in a scene where he treats Elizabeth Benning, or there's another character that's wooing for Elizabeth Benning, and they could put Mr. Darcy versus this other gentleman, hot or not, or which one should Elizabeth Benning choose. So there's a lot of different ways they can be creative and use this to really show different chapters, like preview a chapter and make it interactive for each other and really reflect on what's going on. Create visual chapter scenes with Storyboards 3D app for iPad, or you can just do Storyboard app on your device if you have a smartphone, and they can create role plays. It lets you create characters, and it lets you turn them around, and it lets you create a scene. It's like a visual picture, and they can role play. They're basically drawing and putting text of what is happening in the scene, almost like a comic. Poplet. Okay, Poplet is an interactive mind map. It's a free app online, and it's also a free app on your mobile device. You can do collaborative mind maps. More than one student can work on a Poplet mind map. You can add video, you can add links, you can add pictures. So one thing that I thought about was a pre-reading mind map. What do you already know about the book? So for Pride and Prejudice, what do you know about how women were treated in this particular time period? What did they wear? And they can research all this stuff, and they can put it in the mind map. What do you know about love? What do you know about revenge? You can explore themes. So they can make a mind map on a lot of things to think about themes and the topics that you'll explore in the book. Now, here's a few places you can get already pre-planned lesson plans. EnglishAttack.com is made for teenagers, and you can preview it on the on your mobile devices. Jamie Ketty has done lessonstream.org. Because Jamie Ketty uses YouTube videos, he has a whole entire section on teens. You can conduct these lessons on your mobile device because you can have YouTube on the mobile device. So each student can watch the video and then you just download. Jamie has the whole lesson written for you. So you can have mobile device, mobile lesson plans that way. QR codes. QR codes are great to use to motivate teenagers. It's a quick response barcode, so basically you need a QR scanner on your phone. It'll read it. Cell phones have it as well. A lot of them are now getting them. And then they can attach things to it, like websites, videos, things like that. Here are a few apps: Enigma, Spark QCode, QuickMart, QR Code Wiz, QReady, QRaptor. I've already uploaded this, so I'll show you where later where you can get the apps. So don't worry if you're missing them. The kids can create, the teenagers can create their own QR codes. Maybe it's a poll question. They can actually automatically make a QR code on any website using Active History's bookmarklet. And then what they do is, this is what it looks like. So Laura says, how does the student show what they create in a poll with other students? So you print out all these QR codes that have a link. And then they can say, here, this is actually post2go.com will show up on your mobile device. So you have, it only works with 20 students though. On WebDocs, they can create a QR code, and when they scan the QR code, it will automatically open up to the web page, and the student can answer the poll on their mobile device. They just choose A, B, C, or D, yes or no. They can even type in their own answers. Post2Go does this as well. It's very cool. They can write in their question. They can put a name. They can put an email. It looks like this. It's very easy to do. It even comes up with their own QR code. So it automatically generates a QR code for the student. And so when they scan the QR code, this poll pops up and they answer the question. You can do this as a quiz. So these were all ideas, and now we're going to go ahead and wrap up the session. I know it's a lot of ideas, but hopefully you can use some of these in your classroom already. I'm going to go ahead and show you where I have the slide share. And then you can also go to my website, and when you go to my website, you can download a free book on mobile devices. So let me go ahead and get that link for you. It's the bit.ly, well, let me get the ELT links, and there you can download your certificates. The ones are already there for September. October won't be there till the end of October. Thank you for joining me today in beautiful sunny Las Vegas and wherever you came from today. I really appreciate you coming, and so thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm going to share with you that M-Learning links where you can download lots of free ebooks, and you can get many more ideas for teaching with a mobile device. It has everything there for you, and some great blogs as well.